Here with me now is Democratic Governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. Thank you so much for being here this morning, sir. We want to talk about that and other issues, but first I do want to ask you about that racist video President Trump posted portraying former President Barack Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama as monkeys. The president has declined to apologize for the post, instead blaming a staffer for not noticing the images. They did take it down. What's your reaction to the video?
Well, I tell my children all the time that an apology is only meaningful if you have no intention of it happening again. And I think that there is no one who truthfully believes that Donald Trump has no intention of making these kind of statements or, frankly, these kind of actions again. And I think it just highlights the kind of urgency that we have within this moment, that it's not just the policies that we have continued to see. We are watching a president who is just unchecked. And so what we need to do right now in this moment, it is important that people come out and vote in November and make their voices heard. It is important that states like Maryland that have the ability to look at their maps, that we have a chance to do it. And it is why I'm urging the Maryland Senate to be able to let democracy not die in the free state and allow a vote to happen on the Maryland Senate, and that people should have the opportunity to know that governors and mayors and attorneys general, that in this moment we've got to understand the assignment and understand what is at stake right now.
Well, let's talk about that redistricting. You are pushing hard to redraw Maryland's congressional map to further benefit Democrats. And what that means is eliminating the only Republican-held seat that exists right now. The map as it stands is already really gerrymandered, done before you got there. How is it good for democracy to pursue a map that makes your state even less representative?
Well, actually, the map that the Maryland House passed would actually make 6 of the 8 congressional districts more competitive than less. And frankly, one of the most gerrymandered seats inside of the state of Maryland is actually the Republican seat. It's Andy Harris's seat, who voted against national redistricting reform. But what the Maryland delegate and Maryland House did is they actually said, let's debate it, let's discuss it, and then let's take a vote. This idea that the Maryland Senate won't even take a vote on this is just, it does not make any sense to me and does not make sense to many Marylanders. And in fact, just last week, we saw how the Maryland Senate found time to debate and vote who was going to win the Super Bowl, but could not find time to debate the future of democracy.
And I just want to make sure that people who aren't totally familiar with the makeup of the legislature in Maryland understand that you're talking about the Democratic leaders, the Democratic leader in particular, in your home state. So this is, an internal party divide on this. And I know you mentioned that you think that some of the congressional districts will be more competitive, but ultimately you're trying to push out the only Republican who is serving there.
We saw how the reason that the House passed an emergency legislation is because this is an emergency. This is an emergency where even with the legislation, it still goes back to the people. The people can still take a chance to have a vote later on, but we understand what is at stake right now. And I know that there are more Maryland senators that do believe that this thing would go. And so that's why all we're asking for is let it have a debate, make adjustments if you see fit, but then have a vote. But right now, trying to pressure down or trying to suppress the vote inside of the Maryland Senate and not even allowing them to have their voices heard, that is something that I do not understand and I do not think should be tolerated in the free state.
I just want to ask you point blank about sort of why this is happening in Maryland right now. You know what happened in California. Your fellow Governor Gavin Newsom also potentially thinking about running beyond his home state in 2028. He successfully redrew California's maps. In other words, is this as much about 2028 as it is about 2026 for you?
This is about our democracy. This is about the fact that, you know who started this? It wasn't Gavin Newsom. It was Donald Trump. When Donald Trump first contacted Texas and said, I need you to find me additional congressional seats, and they went into a back room with a Sharpie and started redrawing maps. And then it went to Ohio and Missouri and North Carolina and Florida. When you add all those up, you're watching a president of the United States who is trying to make this pain permanent. And there is no state that has had more of an impact on this than the state of Maryland. We've had over 25,000 Marylanders fired by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. We have lost billions of dollars in federal aid and support, changing our balance sheet. We've not received a single dollar in federal disaster relief from DHS or from FEMA since this Trump administration has come on board. And so this is about when you were watching Donald Trump in front of our face, trying to ruin and trying to thwart democracy. We have an obligation to step up. We have an obligation to debate, and the Maryland Senate has an obligation to vote.
Governor, later this month, President Trump, will host an annual meeting of governors at the White House. He's only inviting Republican governors to that, which is traditionally a bipartisan event. And he's specifically excluding you and Democratic Governor Jared Polis from a separate dinner. You're the vice chair of the National Governors Association. Do you know why you are being called out and excluded?
It's particularly confusing because just a few weeks ago, I led a group of Democratic and Republican governors to the White House. And we had a meeting with the White House where we signed a memorandum of understanding around energy and trying to increase energy supply and bring down energy costs. And so one thing I know is this, is that you can uninvite, you can untweet, but you can never erase. And so if I was selected by my peers, both Democratic and Republican governors, to serve as the vice chair of the National Governors Association, we focus on getting things done for our people, and we're not interested in being able to go to fancy dinners with the president if he wants to exclude certain members. So since the president had decided that I'm not going to be invited, this will not be an NGA event.
Meaning what?
Meaning the NGA will not support this dinner. If the president wants to have a dinner with his friends and have a black tie dinner with his friends on that night, that is perfectly fine. It will not be an NGA event.
And you have a commitment from Republican governors on that?
Oh, we have a commitment from the organization. This is a bipartisan organization where Democratic and Republican governors come together to work on addressing the needs of our people. And I'm honored that my peers selected me to be the vice chair of it. I'm thankful for the leadership of Kevin Stitt, a Republican, the Republican governor from Oklahoma, who serves as the chair. And we know that in this time, the president cannot use this time to divide our organization. Our organization stands firm that if you exclude one, you exclude us all, and this will not be an NGA event.
Governor, before I let you go, I just want to understand what you think the reason is that you are being singled out, and Jared Polis, but from your perspective, why are you being excluded from this dinner?
Well, I've long learned that I'm not trying to get inside of the president's psyche. It's not a good use of my time. It's not lost to me that I'm the only black governor in this country, and I find that to be particularly painful, considering the fact that the president is trying to exclude me from an organization that not only are my peers have asked me to help to lead, but then also a place where I know I belong in. And so I've long learned, and I've talked to the people and the children of my state, is that I'm never in a room because of someone's benevolence nor kindness. I'm not in a room because of a social experiment. I'm in the room because I belong there, and the room was incomplete until I got there.
You're saying that he's excluding you because of the color of your skin?
Well, I don't know. I can't speak to the president's intent. It's not lost to me, but I can't speak to the president's intent.
Okay. Governor Wes Moore, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Dana.